All right, so we're hopping directly into Photoshop. I've already got everything set up, so we're just gonna run through it so I can show you how I utilize some of the tools. All right, so first things first, I'm gonna teach you guys how to remove and switch up your background behind your subject. Now, some people might say to go ahead and select the layer that you want to do, remove the background. That's not going to work because sometimes it's going to generate either a background that doesn't match your subject, or it's going to like change. It's going to like expand the pixels from your subject's like body. It's kind of weird, but what I found is the best way to do this is to go and select the lasso tool. Well, before you even do that, you want to make a copy of your original layer. So you want 2 layers, and the layer on top, you want to take the lasso tool and then make sure you just do a loose selection around your subject and then press generative fill. Once you press generative fill, it should go ahead and erase the subject. If it doesn't, just try it again. It should work. The layer that I have right here, that's exactly what I did. I did a lasso selection and then generative fill, and now I have the background to play around with, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So with this photo, let me go ahead and hide that again. With this photo, I love the pose, love the model, love the location, but there's just some little things in between there that I'm not a fan of. For an example, this bench, this window, and this door. So after I go ahead and generative fill the subject out of there, now I can play around with this background. I have free reign to do whatever I want without affecting my subject because that's on a separate layer. Cool. All right, so one thing that you should also take into consideration, of course, you could easily go ahead and just select everything at once, but I found that if you select everything, AI kind of gets confused on what you want to get erased. So I just say try to go one by one if you're in a situation like this. So this layer right here, I've got the chair layer and I just selected it, lasso tool, hit generate, it got rid of it. Then the next layer, we did the window. Then the next layer on top of that, we did the door. So as you can see, we have a nice, clear, simple background, and it's not so distracting. The next thing that I did, you can see that there's a big box of transparency here. That's because my next layer, I did a generative fill. I like to play around with that, and we'll go over more of this in the next photo, but I like to play around with the composition of my photography sometimes and kind of just let AI do its thing, because it comes up with some pretty good ideas sometimes. So in order to do that, you just hit the crop tool, and then you can just drag to whatever dimensions that you want it to be. I tend to lock in the aspect ratio, typically around like 3:4, and then that way, no matter however you drag it, it's always going to be in a 3:4 aspect ratio. You can just hit clear if you don't want to do that, but you can do 1:1 or 9:16, 16:9, whatever aspect ratio you want to do. You can do that if you're unfamiliar with how Photoshop works. So I'm going to hit cancel because I already had this completed already, like I told you guys before. If we go up to this next layer, we have a new layer now. Now you see I've got 3 options here. I went ahead and went with this option, and it's not the best, but what we can do is go into our lasso tool and then just start to select things and type in what we want. And that's exactly what I did with the layer above. So you can see I typed in modern architecture here, and it gave me some weird stuff. I don't know if I can show you. Oh yeah, here it goes. It gave me some stuff that I didn't want, which was down here. It didn't really look that great. And then it had some other weird stuff in there. Wasn't a fan of that. So what I ended up doing was just taking off modern architecture, and I just typed in modern after that, and I ended up getting this version, which gave me like a nice little opening to let some sunlight in there, which I thought looked cool. I wasn't a fan of this, which I could have got rid of, but I ultimately ended up going with this version because it just looked a lot more clean. And this was a 3rd version, which wasn't as cool. I'm pretty happy with this so far. You know, just for examples purposes, it's not like what I will roll with in real life, but this is just to show you guys how to switch up your background and make things a little bit more simple if you want to go that route. But let's just say we're okay with this. What I would do next is take that other layer that we copied at the beginning, drag that up to the top, and then click remove background. It usually pops up on whatever layer that you put into the layer stack with Photoshop. Remove the background, and then you'll get the subject right back in the same exact position. And the great thing about having all this is that it matches all the lighting still, because it reads the pixels of whatever is already on the background. So when you're generating new stuff, it just looks like it's already there most of the time. In my experience, not all the time, I'd say a good 90-ish%. You'll run into some crazy stuff sometimes. Also, to be aware, if you've never used Photoshop or if you're still a beginner, sometimes when you do a remove background, you can run into some issues with your subject. Like for an example, let's just say, let me get rid of this real quick. Let's just say something's kind of like cut off right there. It'll be a lot more harsh typically, but there will be a layer mask right here. And if you're unfamiliar with layer mask, it's basically you can mask out parts of the photo. So you can paint away the background or paint away the subject. In this case, we just painted around the background and now we can see the subject. And you can clearly see right here that the subject is all white. So if you paint with a white brush, you can get to the brush by pressing B on your keyboard or just clicking this little icon right here. But if you go to the brush, you can go and you can look at your foreground and background colors, switch those by pressing X. And then when you go in there, let's just say we got rid of the subject and now we're missing this part of his shoe. Since we want the part of his shoe back, we just want to paint that in with white. Boom. And if, let's say there's a piece of the background, in this case, we already have the background here, so you really can't tell. If you want to get rid of that, you just paint off with black and you'll be fine. Cool. So right now, I like how the background looks. And to top everything off, and the line of work that I do typically when I'm doing photos is for a brand, if not for my own personal stuff. So oftentimes we're going to have some type of copy, some type of typography, some type of writing to go in there. So I just wrote cool shirts for the summer. Don't ever write this if you guys are doing that. It's terrible copy. Maybe it's not, I don't know. You never know what's going to work nowadays. But yeah, you just add your copy in and then boom, you have your finished product. This is what I ultimately ended up, let me hide this other layer. This was my finished version of what I made a while back. You can see that I kind of still have that modern background with the light shining through. And then I just have my copy and stuff and the logo and went for it that way. So let's move on to this next photo. So this is one of my favorite things about generative fill with Photoshop's AI. It's super dope. So what you can do is blend two pictures together. And I've seen people do this with like landscape photos, but not necessarily photos where you're doing like models and photography and stuff like that. So let's run through this real quick. In order to start blending your photos, what you want to do is select the rectangular marquee tool right here. And then what you can do is click, hold, and drag that shape across the entire canvas. Now my canvas is really long right now because I'm going to show you some stuff in the future here in a minute. So just bear with me on that. But in order to start filling in the space, because you want to fill in these gaps between the two photos so AI can read what's happening and then just make guesses on how to blend those images together. So what you can do after you make one selection, hold down Shift and you can stack your selections on together and they'll blend. And you'll notice that I'm leaving a little bit of room on the edge. Oh, not that one. On the edge of each photo, because what you want AI to do is read that pixel data whenever it starts to blend in some of this stuff. You want everything to blend in seamlessly. Boom. And you'll see that everything just blends in well with the selection. You hit generative fill and then it'll start to fill in those gaps. Cool. So I'm gonna press deselect again. I already had this set up. So here we go. This is my first original image that I put together with generative fill, and you see it pretty much seamlessly blended in those two images together. Now we have some issues right here with their legs being kind of funky, but this is just like the original photo that we did. All we got to do is just go into the lasso tool and then just type in whatever it is that we want to cover that up with. In this case, what I ended up doing was just making more of these pink flowers kind of move over a little bit, which is what I have on this next layer right here. So it's not perfect, but again, for demonstration purposes, I'm just going to show you guys, you know what I'm saying, how we get down over here. But you can see it kind of covers up some of the issues that we have with those legs. You know, not perfect, but you know, it gets the job done. All right. So moving on to the next part, I did a generative expand, which is why there's still space up here, because I wanted to see how far we could take this. Went ahead and did a generative fill here, and you can see I have much more information here. We have I don't know what this is. This is a crazy looking building up here. Got some crazy trees, but the great part about this is that the first thing that I thought when I saw this, I'm like, carousels. Like, this is perfect for carousels, which we'll get to in a minute. Give me about less than 5 minutes. We'll get to the good part with that. Let's get over to this next layer here. I started to clean up just like the last picture, like I told you guys earlier. All you have to do is go in here and lasso all this stuff out that you don't want, and you can type in what you do or what you don't want, or just leave it blank and it'll get rid of most of it. So that's what I did. I left this blank right here, and then it got rid of that building. You guys can see I'll hide it right there. And then this next layer, I got rid of whatever that crap was there. Then I added some palm trees. They gave me a few options here, which was this one. That one looks kind of weird to me. It's kind of dark. That was definitely not the vibe. So I ended up going with this one. That one fit a lot better, and it kind of matched the sunlight going that way, which is kind of cool. And then next we've got all that trash cleaned up in the grass. And then lastly, I just kind of switched the chair right here for my boy, because it just looked a little funky. So let's get to the even better part. I'm gonna go ahead and hide all of these layers, because when we first started, what I showed you guys was doing this with 2 photos. Now I thought about this. I'm like, okay, can we do it with 3 photos? And that's exactly what I did. Same thing, got the rectangular marquee tool, got all that selected, and then hit generative fill. And then once I did that, the result that we got was this. Now, obviously, same thing. We have some weirdness going on with the legs and stuff like that. You know, easily cover that up with the pink stuff, the pink flowers. Boom, easy, ready to go. All right, but here's the thing that I was thinking about. We have carousels, right? Since Instagram is still pushing carousels right now, hopefully they continue to do that. But this will be really powerful, because we can tell stories with our models and the brand products through carousels, because we can use AI to blend all of the photos. Whereas before, if we wanted to do like a cool, like seamless swipe with a carousel, we just had to like scale everything up. But now we can just do it with our regular pictures without having to scale anything, which is super cool. And obviously, like I said, there's some inconsistencies here that we can go back and fix with the lasso tool. But check this out, boom. Adding in our typography, our text, our logos, anything that we want to express to the customer for the client, like we can do that now. Like we can literally give an experience to the brand's customers now. And I think that is probably one of the most powerful things, especially because storytelling is so huge in my line of work. I honestly want to know what you guys think, if this is something that you would use, or even just for your personal life. Like, do you think you can make something cool with it? Let me know if you guys like this style of video, and comment below if you have any questions. I know I was talking kind of fast. I was trying to move through this as quick as possible, but if you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to say what's up, comment below. Oh, and I almost forgot, don't forget to subscribe. I make content for men's fashion and lifestyle brands, and I also talk about creative mindset topics as well. So if that's what you're into, this is a place where you want to be. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.